Okay, so I guess it's about time I have an update. So I've gone back to work, and it's been about 2 weeks. It was June 10th was my first day back. So interesting, I'm having to do like a lot of education stuff and some paperwork and stuff like that. And then at the same time, we had skills. So they signed me up for skills, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. It's been a while since I've done skills. But I had to do some of the paperwork. And then also, I did notice that they have a lot more documentation that kind of explains stuff a little bit better, a little bit clearer. So I kind of appreciated that. I thought that was pretty good. It was more in detail than they say you do it like this because we don't know why, but they actually state why you do it like this. And then I'm like, there you go. That's all I want. So I did that for like a week and a half, and then finally I finished up the paperwork, my education and stuff, and then I finally got to go out and shadow another nurse. So that was kind of fun. And then today's Friday, June 21st, my back was a little angry at me. So I had to call off, and I really didn't want to do that. But, there's no choice. I could barely move, to be honest. So I kind of gauged it as if I'm having difficulty standing, which I'm kind of am right now, because basically like around the tailbone, the lower portion of my back, it feels just like someone's pressing my spine inward. So it's like my butt wants to go forward, and that's not the correct alignment. So it's not fun. Having difficulty standing up, moving around. But I didn't really tell them why I was calling off, because you really don't have to. But I feel compelled to just say it here. And I know some of the managers and some of my fellow employees, they know about my channel. So, if they watch this, my back just is mad at me, and it's not work related. And basically what happened was about 4 weeks ago, I washed, clay barred, and waxed Maria's car. And I did that all in a span of 4 hours. And man, my back was screaming that day. So once I was done, well, the reason I had to do it like that was because it was the perfect day to wash, clay bar, and wax the car, because it was overcast that day, probably about 80% of the day. It was perfect. So I was rushing through. Every once in a while the sun would poke out while I'm clay barring. I'm like, no. Because once the metal in the car starts heating up, the clay starts sticking to the surface, and then it just like that, and then you kind of risk scratching the paint, because once the clay bar grips the paint, it's like the clay is like fine, but you have like these fine scratches in the paint. Luckily that didn't happen. But what I had to do with her car, because it was just so bad, I had to wash it first, and then I was washing it for the second time, because basically the dirt was just like stained into the paint. So at that time I was clay barring while I was washing the car the second time, because there's a little trick. You can use the soap, your car soap, and you sort of like clean the surface, and then you follow with the clay bar so it's slick enough so the clay bar will just go over the surface and pick up any contamination, and then it smooths out the paint. But you got to be really careful, because you could wind up scratching the paint. So all that took like 4 hours. I have stuff where I could have just sprayed it on and wiped it off, would have been done, but I decided to do like a liquid wax and kind of like rub it in, get some of that carnauba action going, because I don't know, it's just I've been using this other stuff by Adams Polishes, and it's fast and you get the nice little water beading, but there's like no depth. So I decided to use a liquid wax, like a buttery wax or something like that. And once I put it on, I was taking it off. It just, I wasn't happy with it. But as it sat, then you could see the depth of the shine through the paint. I'm like, yes, okay. So if you really want to do car care, just doing the old-fashioned way where you just rub on some wax, and go to different sections, wait till it hazes up, and then you go back again, and then you buff it off. It really gives like a depth to the paint, and I really, really enjoyed that. It's very satisfying. The only problem is since I'm not very active because of my injury that I've been dealing with for over 2 years, my back didn't take it. I was hurting that day, but I was able to relax it, get it going. It was doing okay. I mean, I could actually function, and it was, even when I was at work, I'd get up from the chair. I was just like, ooh, ooh, and then, kind of get going. But it was fine after that. I can bend over, pick up stuff. This morning, couldn't do it. Trying to feed the dogs, I'm like, you know what? This ain't working. So I wound up calling in before 6:30 because we have to give a 2-hour notice before we go in. And what I was planning on doing was taking some medication to kind of like help me with my back so I could still go to work, but I didn't have enough time to wait for it to take effect. So unfortunately I had to choose. I know English, guys, I really do. I had to choose to call off. I didn't want to do that because I've only been back, for like 2 weeks. So it doesn't look good on me that I'm calling off so early, but what can I do? It's been 2 years since I've, done like physical work. But I mean, that's it, the going back out on the field, it's weird, and going to people's homes and, you're trying to, educate them, help them with the problem that, they're having, and that's the reason we're going out. In case you guys didn't know, I'm a nurse. I do home health, so we go and help people, whether it's wound care, manage medications, various other things that we do, IVs, IV infusions, stuff like that. So, it's just, you go out there, you do your education, blah, blah, blah. And I was kind of surprised that some of the knowledge is still in my little noodle here. So that was kind of shocking. But, it's kind of like a bicycle. It looks like you never forget. So, it does make sense. But, so we did that. And then, we got to do some wound care, got to see some live wounds, and it just gets the wheels going. And I was kind of watching the other nurse doing her thing, and I kind of told her that it's just kind of like, it's not that I can't do it. It's sort of like getting into that process, of this is what your job is, this is what you do. Because I think if I went out there by myself for the first time, I'd probably be standing there scratching my head. What's the next step? What's the next step? Because that's what happened when we got called back into work on our transitional work program so we can help out in the office. I'd stare at that computer and go, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do, with their program. And eventually I just started to explore, started to get used to stuff. And, as we're answering the phone calls and stuff like that, then you kind of got your groove back. So I was doing really good at that. And it's just like, I kind of liked it because I felt useful. That's the big thing. I felt useful. And, I wish they could have taken us on, accommodated for, my restrictions, but, they just didn't, because I would have been working all this time. Would have been, maybe, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. But when we went back, the schedule was basically like we'd work, every other weekend as well. It was just weird. But so now I'm back. It's just trying to get into that groove, you're back to work, waking up in the morning for me is just, It's tough. I'm not used to waking up at 5 in the morning, take a shower, then I got to feed the dogs, then I got to make myself breakfast, and then the dogs want part of my breakfast. And then, get yourself ready and go, and then you take off to the office. It's just, that's the hardest part, was just getting back into that. I think that's like, that's going to take me like a month to get used to. But, it is what it is, guys. In order to get anywhere, we got to work at it. We got to grind. Just like making YouTube videos, you got to keep at it. You got to keep grinding. You just got to keep doing it. You got to step in front of the camera. You can't be afraid to talk to a camera, look at a lens. It's a single eye looking at you, and it's just like, just blows your mind. All I'm doing is talking to a camera. That's it. That's everything. So it's just got to keep up the grind, keep grinding, get to your point where you're going to go. So my plan is just basically do what I can to accelerate my retirement. Just put in as much money as I can towards that so I can reach my goal. And then hopefully I can retire early, and then I can just kind of relax a little bit and maybe concentrate a little bit more on making, content for you guys. And then also, I just like to say, I've got a few people that have been going through the backlogs of my videos and stuff like that. And they're making comments, and I'm commenting back, and I really appreciate you guys. I love it when you guys do that. And then sometimes I'll get a thumbs up, but then I guess if there's a video that really intrigues you guys, make a comment. I have no problem with that. I think that's wonderful that you guys want to go through 210 videos. You get to see the aspect of me starting out, and then like whether I'm improving or I take a couple steps back. I'm even trying to like change my style of how I record stuff. I'm always trying to change. I'm always trying to evolve, and it's going to be interesting, if you guys notice that. I used to do an intro, welcome everyone. This is Quentin from Wicked Journey, and today we're gonna, I kind of stopped that because if you look at the analytics, nobody cares. So I just try to get right into it, and that's been the hardest part because I'm not used to that. If you kind of get the pattern of it, I will like develop something where, I can just automatically say it and just go. So what I'm trying to work on is improvisation, to where I just come up with stuff related to the topic that I'm going on, but not have anything like scripted. I don't like staying with the script because it just, can you imagine like if we're friends and we're talking and stuff and we got to follow a script? What? Who wants to do that? I'd rather just come up, just if I'm looking at something, seeing it, and as I'm talking, trying to figure out what they're doing. Let's say like Montezuma's Revenge, when I always went and talked about it, we just kind of discussed like what could they possibly be doing, because there's been no activity. I know now there's activity. They have scaffolding, they're power washing stuff, they're probably gonna get ready to paint. I actually really thought they were going to tear down the building and then rebuild, but I think they're going to keep it because it's cost effective. So all they have to do is power wash everything, make sure all the footing and the foundation, it's stable, not cracked, and then they'll go ahead and work on the track and then put it all together, and hopefully we can see what they got. And, I'm pretty sure they're going to be all set for 2025. It'd be really interesting. But, I just don't like having anything scripted to where, it's like I'm trying to memorize lines. So it's like when I script something, or if I script something, I want it to be perfect. So I'll have to do all these takes and all that. It just takes the whole rawness out of like talking to the camera and talking to you guys. But like I said, like you don't do that with your friends. You don't have like a script and you're reading a script, talking to your buddy. It's like, oh yeah, well, hey, how's Margaret doing? Is she doing pretty good? yeah, they're doing okay. Don't you remember? I told you the last time, she got a job and she's not too happy with it. She wants to quit, but I've been forcing her to work because we need the money because, we live in California and, we can't afford the property taxes anymore because they keep raising them up. And, pretty soon either we're going to wind up out on the street or we're going to have to move into another state. Stuff like that. But that's what I mean. I like to improvise stuff, and there's a difference when you improvise. You are basing stuff that you're observing, whereas instead of making up something and lying. So I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just observing, and then I'm giving you my opinion and my thoughts on what's going on. And then when I review the foods, you're just getting my opinion of what I think based on how the food is presented to me on that day. Now, with that, there's always changes, especially with food. Maybe someone didn't prepare the food right. Maybe they're missing an ingredient, so you're not getting the full flavor or the full meal, but you're still rating it. You're rating it based on what you have presented to you in front of you. So, but you gotta roll with things, roll with the punches, ride the wave, because you don't know where it's gonna take you, but you're still guiding your surfboard, right? So that's how I like doing my videos, and I just don't like scripting. If I'm gonna script something, it's because I need to give you technical values. Like if I started doing camera gear videos, well, yeah, I'm going to have some things that I write down because, if you want to know specs, I got to have that. So I'm not going to remember all those numbers, off the top of my head. Unless I really, really know the camera, then I can do that. But anyway, I always seem to get off the subject, don't I? That's okay. It's my vlog. I can do anything I want, right? Well, I guess it just depends on how long you guys are willing to listen to me rant. You can see that on the analytics when you guys take off, oh, this guy's boring, or oh, he's rambling again, he's just repeating himself. And you could tell. That's okay, I'm still learning that, and I try not to repeat too often. But let's say I'm at Knott's Berry Farm. It's good to say Knott's Berry Farm a lot, and the reason you do that is because YouTube will eventually transcribe your whole video and you can download the transcript. But what happens is because you say Knott's Berry Farm so many times, it's easier for someone to find your video, and then your video kind of goes up in the chain because you're saying Knott's Berry Farm so many times, and when someone types in a search for Knott's Berry Farm, it's easier for them to find you. Weird, huh? Yeah, Adventures with David told me that. That's why if you watch his videos and he says Knott's Berry Farm so many times, or he says Adventures with David, he's actually helping the algorithm. Let's see, I'm going to put it. He's helping with the algorithm so you can find him easier. So, shh, it's a little secret. I don't know if he wanted me to say that, but I guess it's not much of a secret since he told me. Nah, David's a great guy, and it makes sense, because when you look at some of the videos in the description, it'll say transcript. YouTube transcribes everything, and when you say a certain subject so many times, like I said, like Knott's Berry Farm, makes it easier for someone who's not familiar with, let's say, Adventures with David. They get to find him easier because they typed in Knott's Berry Farm, and then he's most likely going to come up. So in case you guys want to start a YouTube video, sometimes you have to repeat the subject several times, and I know it gets kind of annoying, but there's a purpose and a reason behind it. So, but anyway, guys, yeah, back to work, back to the regular grind. I'm going to do what I can to make videos. I haven't quite made it back to Knott's Berry Farm to see Ghost Town Alive or Summer Nights. Me and Maria were supposed to go last weekend, but I was just so tired. My first week of work, she was tired too, so she slept in. so we just decided, let's try Sunday. And then Sunday came around and like the same thing happened. So we're just like, oh, we'll just pick another weekend. There might be a possibility I might be going by myself because she doesn't like the heat. Me personally, I don't care because, you know, you could always find shade, drink plenty of water, stuff like that to stay hydrated and stuff like that. As long as I'm hydrated, I'm fine. But if not, I'll just use my Prestige Pass and duck into the VIP lounge for a little bit, get some air conditioning. So, but yeah, I'm hoping to go to Knott's Berry Farm soon to catch Ghost Town Alive. I hear there's a lot of changes in it, some new characters. So I'm really interested in seeing that. And then hopefully go to Summer Nights, one of these nights, have Maria with me so we can see some of the bands, you know, kick back and have a couple of drinks, just listening to some music and stuff like that, just enjoying the night. You know, whether I film or not, I don't know. I'll probably bring my camera, but I may or may not, because I just want to enjoy the night with her and just have some fun, you know. But if she says, aren't you going to film? I'm like, well, okay, I'll film. If she gets annoyed because I'm filming, that's time to put the camera away. Sometimes you have to live your life first, and then grinding and putting out the content will come next. So it's always like we always say, you know, family comes first. You don't want to, like, you know, miss out on the good stuff. And that's where I admire Adventures of an Average Dad. He is hooked on baseball, so he's doing videos from Angel Stadium, and he's taking his family. And I'm pretty sure he asks if it's okay to film, and they're probably like, yeah. And he gets his kids involved, you know, and all that. Because, you know, there's a fine line between paying attention to your family instead of doing what you love to do to making memories. So I think he's got a good balance in making memories. And then there's some games he goes to, he doesn't even film at all. So I think he's got a really good balance going there. And you know what? I admire that. And like I said, that's thinking about family first, because, you know, he's there while he's available. He can watch his kids grow. They can enjoy stuff. And you know what? He's doing it right. He's doing it right. And so it's, you know, what can I say? You know, when you got someone doing it right, there is no complaint. You can't say, God, we don't hang out anymore, blah, blah, blah. You know what? I'm sure he misses that. But you know what? Again, family comes first. Because, you know, your kids are only going to be a certain age for so long. And once you miss that, there's no going back. I mean, you can't hop in your DeLorean and go back to the past to recreate a new future. Can't do that. So he realizes that. You know, that's why everybody tells him he's not an average dad. He's a good dad. And, you know, I agree. He's really good with his kids. And, you know, when they participate in the videos and stuff, you know, that's signs of a good dad. You know, I don't know if he gets any resistance on some things, because I've hung out with him and his kids, and kids are always happy. So, okay, how do I make this about everybody else but me? I think because I miss these guys, because, you know, I'm back to the work grind and stuff like that. You know, those 2 years off, I mean, those were fantastic. I mean, I got a chance to meet a lot of people, make new friends. We got to do a lot of stuff. And, you know, probably the best time of my life. There was a negative behind that. You know, I lost both my parents during that period. Me, my brother, and his wife, we had to take care of the house, you know, that they left. And to be honest, and, you know, I've never really said this, that their house was almost like a hoarder house, and they were hoarding cats as well, and they couldn't take care of them. And so, you know, I think the only bad part that I have is, you know, I did my best to try to visit them as much as I could, you know, maybe try to go over there once a week and stuff. But, you know, part of my job is I'm driving all day, and then to drive back to, where they're at was just too much for me. Try to spend some time talking for me, maybe like visit for like an hour, then I have to drive back home. It was just a lot. And then, when the pandemic hit, COVID, I couldn't go visit them because I just didn't want them to get sick. So that I was really pissed off about that I couldn't go visit them because it was becoming a time when they started needing help. And then finally, when I became injured, and then I knew that I wasn't going to make them sick, I started visiting them, and then they were just so different. They weren't like my parents anymore. I don't know. It's just so heartbreaking that, I don't know. Because I know they would call and stuff. I just didn't feel like talking on the phone because it's just like, as a home health nurse, I'm dealing with other people's problems that aren't mine. And, I'm having to do that as part of my job. And I just didn't want to handle like any more problems when I got home. I just wanted to rest my brain. It just got so bad. So I was kind of glad for the 2 years off and the injury, but that injury is going to come up soon. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do. If it does hold up, then great. If not, I got to find something else to do. Or if it comes to the time when I'm close to retirement, just retire. I could do YouTube anytime. That's not a problem. But man, anyway, once my parents passed, it just felt weird. I think I was more angry than I was sad at their passing because now we had to deal with whatever they left us, and that wasn't fun because we had taken them out of their house for their health because, said they were hoarding, cats. There was a lot of smell of ammonia, and there was poop in the house that they couldn't clean up. I even tried going and trying to clean all that up, but, if they weren't going to get rid of the cats, it was just, there was no point in trying to go over there like every week to try to help them clean because they wouldn't help me at all, try to clean up. My dad tried, but, supposedly at that time he had Parkinson's, but he really didn't. He was misdiagnosed. So that was part of his demise too. He was taking medication that he didn't need, and if you don't take it for its purpose, it was developing blood clots, and so he started having miniature seizures. So, and then when we took him to Missouri, just trying to get doctors over there to re-examine him, re-diagnose him, but they're like, oh no, he's from California, the doctors are really good over there. We're like telling them, no, they misdiagnosed him. What does he have? He didn't have Parkinson's. Basically, he was holding a deep, dark secret that nobody knew until after my mom passed. Basically, my mom had cancer for 10 years. I know I've discussed this in another video, but I can't remember if it was a video that I took down because I only left it up for a week. Haven't reinstated that one, even though my friend Adrian kind of said I should leave that up so other people can learn. And I'm just like, it's a little bit, it hits home a little bit too close. So I just didn't want to leave it up there too long. But my mom knew she had cancer for like over 10 years. And every time I visit her, I kept looking at her and I go, Mom, why are you yellow? Why do you look yellow? And she's like, I don't know. And I look at my dad and he was pink, and I look over at my mom and she's like yellow. I go, you look jaundiced. What's going on? She goes, I don't know. I go, have you seen the doctor? Yeah. Well, what did they say? Oh, nothing. Okay. I go, you're taking a cholesterol medication, right? She goes, yeah. I go, well, are you getting tested for that every 6 months to make sure it's not killing off your liver? No. So I go, Mom, you're supposed to have lab work done every 6 months to make sure that, the medication's not harming your organ. She's like, no. Doctor says everything's fine. I should have known, but it's like, what can I do? Usually you try to believe your parents, and it's like, okay. But yeah, every time. And then when I saw her lose her balance, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? And then her belly, she had like a body shape of a pear, which she didn't have that before. So I was just trying to figure out what's going on. And then my dad wanted to tell me, but I guess they made a promise. So for him to keep a big secret like that, it really took its toll on him, mentally. And that's where he possibly developed Parkinson-like, symptoms, because he was just holding all this information. He wanted to tell us, but she told him, no, you don't tell anybody, So we find out after my mom dies that, she had cancer. What are you going to do? You're going to get mad at the messenger? You can't get mad at the person that didn't want you to know, because they're already gone. So it's just like, I never cried when my parents died. I don't know. Does that sound like it's messed up? I don't know. And I still can't, I think about them every once in a while, and I just don't feel anything. People grieve differently. I would love to say maybe I was more angry at them than, them just leaving and passing. I don't know. I think my brother was the same way. I think he was just so angry at them that, he didn't feel anything else beyond the anger. My brother's calming down a little bit more now, so we're just getting our lives like in order and stuff. But all I got to say, guys, is like, if your parents are up in their 70s or 80s, visit them as much as you can, because there should be no regrets. Like if they get sick or whatever, help them out, and then just discuss about having like a will or a trust or a living trust all put together, where you guys just sit down and talk about, okay, if this situation is, what do you want to do? The other thing is, do not have them put the house in your name. What you want to do is, with that trust, you want to say like, when such and such passes and such passes, then whoever's the executor of the will takes over the property. If you have your name on the property before they die, you will be responsible for taxes. Okay, and what I mean by that is capital gains. You can look it up. Okay, if your name is on there, depends on when they bought the house, and if the value of that house went up and you sell the house, you're responsible for capital gains. And let me just say, you ain't gonna make any money off that house, because that's what could have happened with me and my brother if we had gone and put our names on the deed. So when we sold the house, let's say my parents pay $50,000 for the house. They never moved away. They pass away, but they decided to put your name on the deed, so make sure you get the house. Well, the value of the homes went up. So let's say it's like, $500,000 that the house is worth. You would have to pay taxes, capital gain taxes, if you sold the house. The difference between $50,000 and $500,000. So basically, like half of what the house is worth would go to the federal government. Yeah. So make sure that your guys' name is not on the deed, but it is part of the will, and that they're going to leave the house to you. That way, when it transfers over to the new owner, which would be the executor of the will, it gets sort of like prorated to the value of when the person's, like, let's say like your father was the only person on the deed. So when he passes, it goes on to the son, whoever the executor is, and it'll like prorate from the current value of the year that, your father passed. Kind of follow? So that means when you take control of the house, if the house is worth $500,000, then that's where you're going to value the house at. It's when you take it over. So as soon as you take it over, that's where the tax part will start. Plus also, the living trust that you make will kind of protect the house from you guys having to pay a bunch of taxes. So, but get a lawyer to do all this stuff so you guys are up to date on the new laws, because you know they're changing the laws all the time and you guys could get caught out. So that's what we did. So basically when we took control of the house, it was at current market value. So we didn't have that difference between $50,000 and $500,000. So we would have had to pay taxes on that if our names were on the deed before our last parent passed away. So there's a tip for you guys. If you didn't know that, yeah, you guys better work on that. And make sure you make out a living trust. You know, basically, you know, how do your parents want to, you know, after they pass away, do they want to be cremated? Do they want to be buried? Have like a, you know, a plot already picked out if you're going to do that. You know, all that stuff. Have everything all set up. So when your parents become incapacitated, you just hand over the advance directive or the trust, and everything's all spelled out. It just alleviates all the decision making, any anger that would go on with the family or whatever. It's all there written, all notarized. You know, may cost a couple $1,000s to prep, but you know what? It's probably money well spent, because it just takes that off your mind. So just prepare. We got lucky. You know, my brother's just insistent. He got a lawyer. He asked a bunch of questions. Can we do this, do this, do this? Yep. So we were able to bring our parents in, have them sign a bunch of paperwork and stuff like that. Almost had everything settled down and stuff like that. But we had the majority of it down. We didn't have all of it. So we just got lucky that way. But that was because of my brother. He was just like, nope, I don't want to mess around with this. Let's do this, 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 this. Get it all taken care of so we don't have to worry about it later on. And boy, we're all glad that he did that. So, you know, me and my brother, we don't really fight or argue over stuff. We just talk about it, compromise, see what's fair for the both of us, and then just do that. We don't argue about the money or anything like that, or, you know, property, whatever there was. We don't argue about that. You know, we had our arguments when we were younger, and we actually sat down and had to talk about, you know, who was the favorite and stuff like that, and we found out no, they loved us equally. It just seemed like, you know, like they favored one son over the other, and then that's the way we saw it. So when we talked about certain things, we're just like, oh, like, yeah. So that me and my brother, we got that all out, got that hashed out like early on. So when it came dealing with the parents and everything, we're just tag teaming, you know. And you know, I think my brother like had the hardest job ever, which was transporting him here to another state that we could afford to put him in assisted living. It's California, I'm going to tell you, that's so expensive here. But yeah, and you know, we just took care of things. Anyway, again, I go away from the channel. So anyway, one of these days I'll be able to go to Osprey Farm for you guys and do Ghost Town Alive and, you know, capture all that and summer nights. Again, you know, I know I'm repeating myself, but I got way off track there. Anyway, guys, I'm going to end it here because it's just hot today. I know it's probably just in the 80s, but man, if you can see, I'm just sweating. I don't know what it is. Maybe the UV index might be really high, so it's going to like burn the skin anyway. But it just feels hot. I mean, there's a breeze and everything, but it's just hot air. So, all right, guys. Well, you know what? I want to thank you guys very much. I love you all. And, you know, I really do appreciate you guys watching the videos. I appreciate you guys making comments. I try to, you know, comment back as soon as I can. If I'm a little delayed, that's because I'm working and I just can't stop and, you know, be on my phone and go, oh, wait a minute. Let me answer this, you know, comment. I mean, you know, I got to be respectful for, you know, who I work for and who I work with, you know, and then, you know, once I'm done with that, then I can, you know, respond to the comments. But I do appreciate you guys waiting and, you know, making the comments on the videos. I mean, I really dig that, you know. Some of you guys have some good ideas that I can go off of and, you know, make videos appropriately. And then, you know, just shows me that, you know, I've made some interesting stuff when you comment. So I'm going to try to keep on doing that, make some interesting content. All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Until the next time I take you anywhere else but my backyard. I got to try to get out of my backyard a little bit more, but this is easy and convenient, and it's helping my back out a little bit because I don't have to hop in my car and drive. I'll never get out of that car. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Have a good night.